Family business about the demise of his father's real estate and retail concerns in Holyoke, Massachusetts, where he was raised. His photographs can be found in many major museum collections, including the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Museum of Modern Art, and the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York, and the J. Paul Getty Museum in Los Angeles, and the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. American Power represents a 6-year undertaking by Epstein to explore the nation's production of energy and its hunger for it, as well as what both might mean for America's political power in the world. The book is a portrait of early 21st century America as it clings to past comforts and gropes for a more sensible and sustainable future. Following his presentation, Mitch will be happy to take your questions. We'll have a wireless microphone for the audience, so please wait for that before you speak. And then he'll sign copies of his books for you, which you can purchase downstairs on your way out of the store. Please join me in welcoming Mitch Epstein to the Strand.
Thank you to Christina Foxley and to the Strand Book Store and to all of you who are here tonight. I'm going to show a selection of photographs from my recent project, American Power. This body of work examines the use and misuse of energy in our culture and the relationship between American society and the American landscape. As I show these images, I'll talk about why I made this project, how I went about it, and how it affected me as an artist. Midway through shooting this project, I realized that power was like a Russian nesting doll. Each time I uncovered one kind of power, I found another kind within. I opened up electrical power and discovered political power inside. I opened up political power and encountered corporate power. Within corporate was consumer, within consumer was civic, inside civic was religious, and so on. One type of power hiding inside another. I began making these pictures with the idea that an artist lives outside the nesting doll and can simply open and examine it. Now I see it differently. Artists sit outside it, but also within, exerting their own power. The power of art very often derives from its willingness to examine the implications of power in all senses of the word. At this nuclear power plant, security is extreme. You're looking at bulletproof gun turrets that have been installed. You see one on the upper left and down on the ground there, post 9/11. In 2003, I was asked to photograph Cheshire, Ohio, a town in the process of being erased. Nearly all the residents of Cheshire had been paid off by the American Electric Power Company to leave town and never come back. After they left, their homes were demolished. This deal was made to avoid future lawsuits over environmental contamination. I saw how people lived in the shadow of a polluting plant, and I photographed the abandoned homes of those who'd sold out. I began to think about how we depend on energy without considering its direct consequences on our lives. This is a photograph of a newspaper page taped on the wall in a pizza shop. The owner had written "Gone" across the image of a house scheduled for demolition. This is Beulah Hearn, a holdout in Cheshire. Her friends called her Boots. Boots refused to sell. Having been harassed by the American Electric Power Company, She had taken her security in hand by installing 2 surveillance cameras at her window. Boots watched me as I photographed her video camera and monitors. She asked, "Would you like to see my gun?" And from the side pouch of her easy chair, where I expected to see the Farmer's Almanac, she pulled out a handgun and respectfully unloaded it. Here I was, in the home of a genteel, elderly woman, my idea of a sweet grandma, only she was armed in self-defense. I was unnerved by the measures she had taken to protect herself. Boots's security mirrored the security at the coal plant. Surveillance was everywhere in the tiny town of Cheshire. This woman is a guard at a nuclear plant in Mississippi. This is inside an office of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission at the Grand Gulf plant in Mississippi. In case you can't read the George Orwell quote typed across the framed photograph of a nuclear accident, it says, "To see what is in front of one's nose needs a constant struggle." The pressure American society is putting on its resources is made clear in this photograph of Signal Hill in Long Beach, California. When will that last open space be filled? I had just been to the Democratic Convention, which was sponsored by the so-called clean coal industry. On my way to the Republican Convention, I stopped in Gillette, Wyoming, where I shot this open-pit coal mine. As a means to get going in the morning, I designed an itinerary for myself. But having a clear plan is a ruse to launch me into the world and into the work. Much of the time, my best pictures come from going someplace I hadn't planned. The point is to set myself up to be surprised. I went to Oregon, for instance, to photograph the Army Corps of Engineer hydroelectric dams along the Columbia River. After spending a day photographing the Dalles Dam, I went into town to look around. I found this car lot with a mural depicting a Christian missionary preaching to American Indians. There was an abundance of meaning there, the power of a car's gasoline, but also the power of the white man to overtake the natives, and by extension nature, which the American Indians in general have a tradition of treating with greater respect than the white man. Here again, religion shows up in the form of a baptism, along with a defunct nuclear power plant. Fort Pierce, Florida is only miles away from a nuclear power plant. In 2004, the town was pummeled by Hurricanes Francis and Jean. A dredging barge was brought in to restore the beaches. This is Las Vegas.